Hello, my friends. This is the silver 1 year reading for the year of 2022. It's currently January 19th, 7:33 p.m. on the year 2022. All right, so we start off the year with the completion. In January, there's a completion of a trade. There's a high in early January. It's an opportunity to cash in and to reposition oneself, possibly if you're dealing with stocks or options. The high is reached after a big push higher, and the low comes just shortly after the completion of a bullish trend, leaving the month of. Looks like the high there may even be another high, like a higher high than what we see in early January. There may be a higher high in like the beginning of the fourth week of January. But there's we hit up against resistance and we fall from there, and there's lower highs on the way down, and they're like from spikes that hit. They spike up to reach moving averages, and moving averages are acting as resistance on the way down, and that continues. That decline continues into early February. There's a trade opportunity in the first week of February. The low there is range bound, so the prior low, it looks like, will likely, whatever the last significant low for silver was, like we're gonna, when we meet that support, we're gonna turn around. There's an opportunity to open a position to play both sides of the market. Dealing with you could be hedging, you could be dealing with option spreads towards the end of February, because there's a push higher and a breakout off of the low, and a revisiting of the prior crest in late February. All right, and then March we have a move up through resistance. Likely we poke through the prior resistance, because the main theme for this year is for silver is it's highlighting a very prominent technical level, and to be specific, the high level, it's a high that we revisit several times throughout the year, and they all mark an opportunity to trade, to open up some. To sell some positions, to sell some silver, to hedge against a downturn, or play with options, buy puts on SLV or something like that. March we revisit that high again, and that's again an opportunity to sell or roll, reposition, because in early March we move higher through that real quick. We're up there not for long. We come back down, and we sell off from a near overbought territory on RSI. There's a big move as we exit March. A big move. There's a decision. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's silver. Excuse me. Yeah, so April, there's an agreement between two leaders. The president or male leaders highlighted around the high for April. It's also where we revisit that technical level one more time. Marks another trade opportunity. We fail to break through that level. We drop through a support level, and we're declining sharply through into the end of into the end of April. We sell to a support level in early May. We dip below it and then we come back up above it. We also looks like we revisit that same technical level at that high, and there's something going on with Congress or like some sort of foreign diplomacy, something like that. That's also highlighted around the high, but it'll be by that point it'll be pretty straightforward where the high level is going to be, because we will have already hit it 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 3 or 4 times. This will be, well, excuse me, that'll be the 4th time here in May. There's a sharp decline through multiple support levels to reach the low in May, and that high, we won't revisit that high for quite some time. It looks like that May high, that technical level. There's more decline. There's like a U-shaped kind of dip and a great trade opportunity at the beginning of June. The U-shaped dip, something may come to something that was hidden economically may come to the surface, but it's more like a U-shaped dip between two parallel, perpendicular, I should say, excuse me, two perpendicular intersecting diagonal trend lines, and there's like a U-shaped dip there. A lot of headwinds around the high in June that push it down in early June, but then the low, which we see the low that we see in like the third week of, there's a low in the first week of June, and then there's a low in the third week of June, and from that low we push higher. We effectively create new support out of an old resistance. And we push higher even though there's a ton of headwinds. We push higher into the end of June. We are bumping up against resistance in early July after a bumping up against resistance in early bumping along resistance, I should say, in early July. There's 3 failed attempts to break through key resistance level, and that's followed by a sharp decline off of the high for July. The move off of the low is going to be substantial, though. The July low, there's going to be a really significant push off of that July low, and we're going to go from a support, like a very important support, all the way to a very important resistance level, and like just in the last bit of July. We have some sideways fluidity, back and forth, bulls and bears kind of deal as we move into August. We also revisit a prior low that was a really great opportunity. It looks like in the end of the first week of August or the beginning of the second week of August. Real great trade opportunity there. We push the high. Also, we have it looks like we have 3 crosses along the same price level that confirms a bullish trend, and we have a bullish move into the end of August. However, that breaks down. It's like a big sudden fast move higher at the end of like a little bit of a bullish trend there. And then we break down through a diagonal trend line, and volatility picks up on the way down. We reach a year's low, the first year's like major low, somewhere in there let's say early September. There's a big sideways J move out of it, so like a powerful move from the low. Wow. Okay. So yeah. So there's a big move. There's an opportunity to sell again. It looks like in late August, we reach a, you know, we have a sharp decline to reach a low in September. That year's major low is followed by a big push to the upside, a really big push to the upside to meet um, that same technical price level, which we'll call science, where we keep pumping up against the same high. We reached that same level in the end of September, after a big push off of a low, and that low obviously precedes the push because the push is off of the low. But that decline to the low started in the decline to the low in September starts in August. All right, then we have again, like the end of September, the beginning of October, we revisit that science level after a big push off of the low, right? And big move to reach that high, but we fall from that high through two support levels, bounce along that, well, through one support level, meet a second one, bounce along that, and then we break down through multiple support levels off of the high in October. Okay, looks like we fall from that high in early October after that big push higher. We fall from that high. We fall from that high to reach support at a low for October's low, and that's where we have some bullish rotation along the, like, sideways rotation along the bottom of the October low, which should be towards the end of the month. They're pushing into it's a little interesting. So October, we have a big push higher to revisit that science level, that high the year's high we keep meeting. We fall through multiple support levels from that high, and we have some bullish rotation around the low in October. But we may revisit the same that science level again. Like, we might visit it twice in October. Either that, or that move in early October continues all the way to late October, and then we decline towards the end of October. We have a sharp decline. We reach the year's low once again. It may be the same, it may be slightly lower, but it's a second major low of the year, and out of that major low, we have a trade opportunity again. And then we have a big push out of that major low, a fast sudden move higher, starting roughly around like the third week, like the end of the third week or the beginning of the fourth week of November. So there's that year's low in early November, major low trade opportunity, and then a fast sudden move higher towards the end. We reach a high. We start that rally the end of the third week, the beginning of the fourth week of November, and that rally continues with increasing momentum as we move into December, we reach a high or a new high, actually. This may be a new high, actually. Um, in December. That's either the same high or slightly higher high than the year's highs at the science card, but in any case, that we revisit that science level again in the midst of volatility at the end of December, and there's a sharp decline at the end of December, that to the low of December, and that's also another opportunity to trade, to open some long positions, because we have a high correlator for the sneak preview card for the following year, which indicates that there's a higher high next year than the high this year. All right, guys. So that's the 1 year reading for 2022 for silver. These things are really accurate, guys. So enjoy that information. I'd love to have you circle back at the end of the year and leave a review or leave some sort of commentary what your experience was. It's really great to have other people do that, not just my team, but we make sure we hold ourselves accountable. But I'd love to hear from you guys, and thanks for your support and checking this silver 1 year out. Good luck to you guys, and I'll see you all later.